Riding Cincinnati's connector streetcar has become a popular choice for over 1 million riders last year, but it's fascinating to reflect on the evolution of the city streetcar system. The early days were marked by some rather curious and occasionally humorous complications.
Cincinnati's connector streetcars proven to be very popular, with more than 1 million riders last year. The predecessors of today's streetcars faced some curious complications. For instance, halitosis. In 1898, a delegation of women, quote, whose sense of smell seems to have been abnormally developed, according to the newspapers, invaded the private offices of John Kilgore, president and general manager of the Cincinnati Consolidated Street Railway, to complain about the malodorous exhalations of his streetcar conductors. Too many conductors, they claimed, exuded onion breath on the job.
Oh, delicious!
Out in the Mill Creek Valley, young women clamored for later streetcar runs. Their suitors, who lived in town, were able to escort their dates home to Glendale in Wyoming on the last car, but were forced to walk back to town because the cars had stopped running. It wasn't uncommon for a fattened hog on the way to the slaughterhouse opting to delay the inevitable by napping under the wheels of a streetcar, causing a delay of some minutes. Coal deliveries on Cincinnati's narrow streets regularly brought streetcar service to a standstill. Cincinnati has always loved a parade, but the city's often spontaneous processions played hob with streetcar schedules. Commuters complained regularly about the outrageous fares charged by the streetcar companies. When Cincinnati charged 5 cents for a ticket, Columbus, Cleveland, and other cities offered 8 tickets for a quarter. Complicating matters, Cincinnati had multiple transit companies operating with totally different fare structures. A mourner wishing to place flowers on the grave of a loved one in Spring Grove Cemetery had to pay a 10-cent fare to ride an electric streetcar to the end of that line at Knowlton's Corner, and then pay an additional 10 cents to ride a horse-drawn omnibus out to the cemetery. Overcrowding was so bad that one newspaper recommended that transit company directors should be drafted to personally pull one of the overloaded cars. Many of the streetcars were open, meaning they were not enclosed at all, and even those cars fully encapsulated with windows had open platforms at the front and rear of each car on which overflow passengers had to stand. A Cincinnati Post cartoonist advised commuters to bring their own pot-bellied stoves along for the ride. By all reports, though, Cincinnati's old-time streetcars did run on time.
Joining me now to chat more about the streetcars, the man behind Cincinnati Curiosities, Greg Hand. Greg, it is always great to see you.
Always good to be here.
First question, were Cincinnati streetcars all operated by electricity?
It took a long time for Cincinnati to decide what was going to work with the topography around here and with the city. And so the initial streetcars, the very first streetcars in the city, were drawn by horses and sometimes mules. And Cincinnati could have been the San Francisco of the Midwest because we operated a couple of cable car systems for a while. Right up Gilbert Avenue, right in front of the studio here, was a cable car system. But then they finally decided that the most efficient way was electricity.
So were there any benefits to these streetcars other than just transportation?
Absolutely. Cincinnati is the size that it is, and it has the hilltop suburbs that it has really because of streetcar service. As soon as they put streetcars up the hillsides into areas like Price Hill and Walnut Hills and that sort of thing, the population just exploded there, and that really contributed to the growth of the city.
So Greg, why did Cincinnati ultimately abandon the streetcar system altogether?
You know, it's a question that we're starting to return to and ask again. Why don't we bring the streetcars back? Because they really did provide a great service. And I guess the simple answer is that the transit company just decided to outsource transportation to automobiles, and they just gave over the streets to cars. And we have the situation we have today.
Wow. Well, another aspect of Cincinnati's curious history. Greg, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing this with us.
You got it.